What's up, guys? I didn't expect to be making this video, but I'm not above admitting when I have made a mistake. And when I produced the AI video talking about the AI process, I did in fact make a mistake. And that mistake was, unfortunately, the entire premise of the video. The mistake was assuming that AI would not end art as we knew it. That AI would not end art as a career and art as a job. And after making that video, I engaged across a variety of social media platforms with a variety of creatives, a variety of artists, and a variety of individuals, both for and against AI. I also went and I looked at emerging types of AI, including AI video and AI audio, including the AI situation with the voice actors, where the voice actors went on strike because AI models were being made of their voices. I believe it was Genshin Impact, if I remember right. And having had the vitriol spewed at me by countless anti-AI individuals when I stood up for it, and seeing the nuisance that is the so-called AI artists who really genuinely seem to think that putting prompts into a machine makes them an artist, I've come to realize not that there is no hope for AI, but that there is no hope for art as a career. There is no hope for artists because of the professionals, and I'm using that term very loosely, in the professional art field. I consider myself an artist, but it is in a broad sense of the term. I make films like Hollywood does. You can see them on my YouTube channel. I'm not trying to pretend to be any better than I am. They're fairly amateur works, and a lot of them I make myself. I make them to tell a story, and I make them to be entertaining. Sometimes they work, most of the time they don't, but I enjoy making them, and I enjoy expressing myself through film. I do this for myself. I do this because I enjoy being creative. I don't do this as a job. I've never made a single penny. That's not true. I've almost never made a single penny off of my creative works. We've won some competitions, so we have gotten some revenue and about, I don't know, a couple $1,000s worth of equipment, which, trust me, when you're in this industry, that's pocket change. When I'm making things like my graphic novel, I do that to wind down at the end of the day. That's why it's not up on Kindle, it's not available on Amazon, I'm not pushing to get it through a publishing house. It's just for free on Patreon, because I want people reading my story and enjoying it. That's it. I'm not interested in selling it. This isn't a job for me. What is a job for me is my marketing career. That's what I do on a day-to-day basis, is marketing. I do it for a big medical company. I'm not going to put the name out there. If you dig around, I'm sure you could find it. But because I do the marketing for this company, I see things from a corporate creative perspective. I use my creativity to help sell a product for a corporation, and they pay me an hourly rate for it. That's what professional art looks like. My skill set that I provide them is not pointing a camera and making some kind of artistic statement with the camera. My job is understanding how to operate all the equipment in the department, how to network it, how to turn it into a live stream, and how to keep everything running and everybody moving in the right direction so that the clients understand the information that's being presented to them in a way that allows us to make sales. That is a marketable skill. I do not go into the company and draw a little doodle and expect that doodle to make them money. I do not go into a company, my company or any company, and make an AI picture and try to hand it to them and ask them for money. Both of these things are absurd. But both of these things seem to be the most common that I encounter when I'm having this discussion with different graphic artists across all the different social media platforms. They are artists in a general sense. They can make art as much as you could make art, you the average viewer, if you were to take 10 minutes of Photoshop lessons on how to draw shapes, for instance, or how to use the masking tool. You can make any of this stuff. you're not going to get paid for it. Not because it isn't a skill that you should be paid for, but because it provides no value to anyone. It is not a product that can be monetized. But nearly every artist complaining about being replaced by AI, and that is happening, by the way, on a large scale right now, they have no skills other than these extremely basic art skills that anyone can learn off of YouTube in an hour. They've been sold a lie that you can work from home, that you can love this career, you can do virtually no work at all, and people will shower money upon you just for being artist with a capital A. That's not going to happen. And that's not going to continue to happen. And AI has taken the few people that had that very, very lucky position of being able to do that and shot it right out from under them. And it's never coming back. Because you're right. AI can do everything that these so-called artists can do. Artist is a very, very broad spectrum term that applies to any creative endeavor. And you can be a bad artist, and you can be a good artist. But you can also be a paid artist. And figuring out where on the spectrum that lies isn't a matter of skill, it is a matter of knowing what is needed in a corporate world. Because corporations are the only people that are going to try to pay you money for your art. Not your fans, not your relatives, not the people that care about you, because they will run out of money. And in a way, you're just guilt tripping them into paying you. You're not actually worth that. They just like you, not your art. They like you, and that's why they support you. No. If you want to make a job out of this, if your 9 to 5 is going to be art, you must be the absolute best at the corporate product that is wanted of you. Graphic design is done, and it's never coming back. The only people you will sometimes get to pay you are old hat business owners that don't understand how to use Canva. But eventually, as their company grows, someone's going to introduce them to the concept of Canva, the concept of AI, and your position will be gone. It is not a secure position. It never was, and it never will be again. So should you drop everything and move to being an AI prompter? No. And here's why. AI is bad at graphic design. Just as bad as these first-year graphic designers that come off of some YouTube Photoshop course and think they're all that. AI can only create an imitation of a good graphic design, and that is where its limitations stop. That's where it stops. Okay? There is no AI revolution. AI is simply taking over the lowest common denominator art. We're seeing it grow, we're seeing it improve, we're seeing all the new things it can do, and it's become really, really good at what it can do, and what it can do is the baseline, the bare minimum. Everything past that is, say I create a perfectly photo-accurate video of something. I've stepped over a few steps, now I still have to put it in my machine and edit it. Let's say that somehow AI can figure out how to edit, which I don't think it ever will, because you need to be tuning it towards a specific task each time you do an edit. But eventually, maybe yes, that field will also be overridden by AI. We are grossly overestimating how strong AI is. We are grossly overestimating how much it can do. And so to see people terrified of this AI just tells me how few artists actually understand anything about how the corporate or marketing world works, and how few of them have realistic expectations for what they're going to do with their art degrees or whatever it is. I didn't get where I am now by getting art degrees. I didn't get where I am now by going through film school. There is no cheat code, no easy way to get into this industry. If somebody tells you there is, they are trying to get you to buy into a college course or buy their master class or something like that. It's all a lie. It's all fake. Okay. I work in this industry. We see people like that come in all the time, and they go right back out. These people have no work ethic. They are lazy, and they're bad at what they do. At the end of the day, I am one of the people that makes the decision who comes in and who goes back out in the company. I am not the hiring manager, okay? I just look at the work that's being done, and I say this is working, or this is not working. We're looking at trends. That's it, okay? When I see people come in and they give me things, pictures, graphic design, that I would not put on the refrigerator if a 5-year-old drew it for me, we have a problem. These people really, really think somehow that their doodles are worth millions of dollars. They aren't. The amount of time and effort you put into something does not matter. That's critically important to remember. Just because you're doing something a lot doesn't mean it's good. I got into a discussion, I wanted to touch on this real quick, with a comic book creator. I guess they're semi-high profile. I'd never heard of them, and they've only done a few comic books here and there. They're like a backup artist on a few popular projects. And I won't say the name, I'm sure their supporters will show up in no time, but it was such an inane discussion about AI. Just the usual platitudes over and over of AI can never copy my style. So I did a bit of a test. I tried to see if AI could copy their style. And it turns out I wasn't the first one to try either. There was already a model available online of this person's artistic style. And what I produced was indistinguishable from the artist's work. It was junk. It was AI garbage. It didn't tell a story. It wasn't a comic book page. It wasn't any faction of anything other than a facsimile of this person's art. A facsimile of a picture drawn as if it were this person's art. And it did a good job. Because the way you use a paintbrush isn't your art. The way you tell your story is your art. The way you use the things you create to make an impression on another human being, that is what art is. Not your brush strokes, not your techniques. Anyone can pick up a brush. Anyone can learn a technique. AI can pick up a brush, and AI can learn technique. AI cannot tell a compelling story unless it is prompted to do so. Likewise, and I'm going to speak to a moment to the AI experts, the people that really think they're doing something impressive by downloading someone else's model and then writing a bunch of words and creating some art, you are not artists either. You are prompting a machine to tell a story for you. And in a way, you are using that machine as your brush. But do not for a moment imagine that that means that it is your talent doing anything. It is a machine producing images for you in the style of someone else who put in the work ahead of you. When you pick up an art book to learn from it, you are learning from someone who's giving their techniques to you. When you look at a graphic novel and say, I could copy that, and you begin to draw in that style, you aren't a thief. That's okay to do. You don't have to go back and make sure to credit everybody. But also, when you're drawing things, and this is where there's a very fine line here that needs to be addressed. When you are learning from someone and copying something from someone else, you are using your own innate creation and creativity to make something new from that foundation. Understand that. You are making something new from someone else's foundation. So when you use AI to tell your story, the story is yours. And you don't need to credit anybody else for your story. The art and the mechanism that you are using to create that story is not you. It is not your art. It is AI's art providing your story with life. As long as we draw these lines, and as long as we understand these lines, we can see that there is no problem with AI, and there is no problem with creative works in general that don't use AI. But there is no theft. The reason I keep harping on theft, and that brings me to my next point. The reason I keep harping on theft is because the word theft and stealing keeps coming up over and over and over and over and over and over and over on every single social media platform. And the usual response is some stupid non-answer. I say, well, it's not stealing, and I provide examples of why not. And I get told, well, you're a grifter who uses AI, so we're not going to listen to you. As if that somehow changes the facts. The difference between theft and imitation is very simple, and I'll use a story to illustrate. Say you buy a new TV and you put it in your house. I break into your house and I steal your TV. I take it, I put it in my hands, and I walk out with it. You would be absolutely right to say that I'm a thief, that I have stolen your item, your object, whatever that thing may be. I've deprived you of it, and now you have every right to come after me as a thief. Likewise with AI. However, that's not what AI does. Imagine instead a world where I come in front of your house with your beautiful television in the window, I look at it, I use my own time and my own resources to create my own television from what I see through your window, so much of a copy that you cannot tell the difference between mine and yours. And then I go home with my television and I use it. What have you been deprived of? Now, we've all heard the corpo arguments for, well, it had intrinsic hypothetical value. We know that's not true. Also, whenever you find yourself siding with megacorporations, you already know you might be on the wrong side of this particular battle. But when something is imitated, when something is copied, it is innately different. I don't have any way of copying a television. That's kind of a silly metaphor, but I could make from parts something similar that might do a similar job. That's imitation. I might even improve on the design a bit if I had access to the tools and tech necessary to make the TV. Likewise with art. Let's say you're an artist that sells your paintings and you go out on the street corner. If I go up and I swipe 10 of your books off the table and run off with them, I'm a thief. However, if I sit in front of your stand and I meticulously sketch and learn your techniques and come up with something in my own design from it, and then walk off, you would look like an absolute clown if you tried to go to a police officer and say, "This man has stolen my technique, please arrest him." You would get cited for wasting the policeman's time. That is the difference between theft and what AI does. AI learns and creates something new, which, by the way, also falls under fair use. Where it is scooping this information from is anything public. You may say, well, it had access to my art. Yes, because you put it on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or wherever you placed it for free. Anybody can right-click, save the image. And if I can right-click, save the image, there is really nothing preventing me from feeding it into my AI. When I copy your image off the internet, it doesn't disappear from the internet. It's still there. I can copy it, I can put it into my AI analysis machine, which, by the way, people seem to underestimate how little it takes to power AI. You can do it as minimum as 5 photos, and you'll get a very good trained model. But when I take those 5 photos and I train the AI, there comes a point where the AI is doing its own thing. It no longer needs those photos. So I can delete them, I can get rid of them, and be happy and satisfied with the new thing that AI is creating. It will always be unique. It will always be different. And there we have the difference between theft and AI. If that is not clear enough, and I'm sure there will be comment warriors as there always are, I'm not going to delete all of them, just the spam ones. I will continue to put fact upon fact upon fact until you collapse under the weight of those facts. And you will inevitably devolve into the usual either calling me names or saying I'm an AI grifter or whatever other tech terminology you want to use. I might start reacting to some of like the AI fear-mongering bros that are around YouTube just because this is such a prevalent thing and it comes up so often. But I'm happy to engage in those discussions, but I will win just because the facts are very clear. I use this system. I know how it works. I know what it doesn't do. When I create my graphic novel, when I create my video art, I don't use AI because it does a bad job. And it will always do a bad job. It will always have its own fingerprints that I don't like the look of. Okay? I don't have any interest in putting that into my work because it doesn't look like my work. When I do my art, it is my own expression. If I train an AI on my own work, which I've done just to see what would happen, it creates its own thing. And I say, yeah, that's kind of cool. I kind of like what you've done with my work. I'm never going to use this again. And then I never use it again. It isn't worth my time to use AI as a paintbrush. If you want to use AI as a paintbrush, go for it. It's just a paintbrush. Tell your stories however you want to tell it, but recognize the amount of energy and work that goes into training a model. Somebody else did that, and the result, the image you're getting, is the AI giving you that image. Not you, but also not the artist it was trained off of. It is its own unique thing. Claiming ownership of those images is silly. Yeah, you put the prompt in. Good job, buddy. But the AI did the work. Likewise, if you're an artist and the AI has cloned your style or learned from your style, maybe you should think about improving your style if it is so simple and so boring that AI can actually copy it beat for beat. We know it can't. You know it can't. But if you're going to pretend that it can, realize that all you're saying is my artwork style is so simplistic that AI can scoop it up wholesale and copy it one for one. It can't even do that with line art, my friend. I don't know how you think it's going to do it with a more complex drawing style. So I think I'm going to wrap this one up. I've already talked a lot longer than I expected. We'll see how this edits down. But the main thrust is that I was wrong about AI taking over everything. because I didn't realize how useless and how poor quality the so-called professional art world is, and how little effort they're willing to put in to be better than the current tech curve, which is AI. It puts corporations and businesses in a really sad position between having to choose from this awful, poor quality artist who barely does their job at all, and an AI replicant creating horrible, disfigured, disjointed artwork with the fingerprints of AI all over it. What a sad decision. And how can you as an artist allow this to happen? How can you be so bad at what you do that this has come to pass? Step up your game. When I say at the end of my videos, go out and create, it's because I want to see people creating something new and something beautiful. And anything you're doing that is a shortcut, that is a cheat code, we know, we're going to call it out. And if you try to make a business out of it, you only make yourself look like a clown. That's all I got for you today, guys. Please go out, please create. Use AI if you have to, understand its limitations, and just create to express. If you want to make a business out of it, go get a marketing degree or something like that, because that's where you really want to be. AI is here. AI has taken over everything, and AI and poor quality artists have killed art as a business. Good job. That's all I got for you today. Go out, create something original, and have a good time. I'll catch you all later. Peace.